Cubs fans, what do you say? Chuck Walter here alongside special guest David Kaplan, who joins Mick, Gillispie, and myself. You can catch David Kaplan on ESPN 1000 Monday through Friday. Plug me in with that showtime, Cap. 7 to 10?
7 to 10 Central. It's the Kap and J Hood morning show. And then I have a YouTube channel that's been a lot of fun to be a part of. It's called The Recap, REKAP. And we've got 124,000 plus subscribers. So it's a lot of fun. I do like a 3-minute recap after every Bears, Cubs, White Sox, and Bulls game. I don't talk the hockey part of it. And then we have a live football show getting ready to start soon called Feldco Bears Recap Live. It'll be me with Tom Waddle and Olin Kreutz every Tuesday night to recap the game and preview the next game. So that should be a lot of fun. And it's an honor to be with you guys. My guy, Mick Gillispie, you have no idea what a big fan I am of that dude.
Hey, Connor Bedard joining Blackhawks country. I would say at this point you may have to get on the hockey train. Let's talk about the breaking news. Marcus Stroman suffers a rib cartilage fracture. This came out within the last hour that Stroman's not just missing a start. He's not throwing a bullpen next week. It sounds like this could be extended. Give me the details.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, and the Cubs aren't going to comment, but I've sourced it pretty strongly. This is a long-term thing. If you said to me that he doesn't pitch again this season, that would not shock me. We're here on the 16th of August. He just gets diagnosed with a fracture. Just do the math. I mean, that's not going to heal in 7 days. So we're into September. He won't have thrown for the better part of, 6 weeks? He's been on the injured list already. He got a shot in his hip, and he hasn't been throwing the ball well, and now you're going to bring him back. How are you going to ramp him up? I mean, there's not any minor league games left at that point to put him in a rehab start. So do you send him to Arizona to throw? Do you do side sessions? And you're trying to get to the postseason? I would not be shocked if you've seen the last of him this year, but for sure it's going to be a while.
Bad news for the Cubs, Cap. I'm going to put the schedule up here. This is definitely the stretch time for this team. I mean, they're going to have to win these games because this is where the schedule really benefits them. Are you worried that the Cubs, if they don't take advantage of these 11 games and, these teams that have losing records, that they're not going to make the postseason after they went, instead of selling, they went and bought at the deadline?
No, I'm not. I still think they have a great chance to get there. I do. The analytics say they do, but I thought the article in The Athletic the other day, Dansby Swanson said, look, I keep hearing, well, you should sell guys now and add more prospects, and then next year we'll try and win. And he said, that doesn't work that way. You can't predict when you're going to be good and when you're going to win because you don't know what's around the corner injury-wise. You don't know what poor performances around the corner. He said, you have to set a mentality in this organization, and we're trying to do that every single day, did we win or did we lose? We're about winning. We're not the Kansas City freaking Royals. We're not the Oakland A's. We are the Chicago Cubs, and you got to act that way every single day. And I loved when Dansby talked about having a winning mentality every day. You can't change what happened yesterday. I thought they got away from their approach against the White Sox. They did. Gregory Santos is mowing them down, and they're swinging at the first pitch. This is a team all year that grinds at bats. I expect them, we're taping on a Wednesday, that Wednesday night they get back to looking like the Chicago Cubs. Will they win? That remains to be seen. But I loved what Dansby Swanson said. So make it, don't make it. I was not going to be that team that punts a season again.
I like how you threw a slight little jab there to the Kansas City Royals, which gives us a good segue because the Royals are coming to Wrigley Field this upcoming series after the White Sox. Some day games at Wrigley. It's been a minute since we've had a few of those. 12-game stretch that the Cubs have already gotten underway against just bottom feeder teams, terrible teams, atrocious teams, teams that stink. What is a successful 12-game portion of the schedule right here to you? What is a success?
Well, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I know who's coming up. The 12 games, I mean, I got to think you've got to win 75% of those. I do. 75% of those games, and I'm going to put on my reading glasses so I can look at the schedule that as you put it up there.
There you
and you beat the Braves there. You dropped 2 of 3 to the Mets. That I thought that was a poorly played series. You do what you have to do, win 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays. You've got to win tonight. Then you get the Royals, the Tigers, the Pirates, the Brewers. By the end of the month, that run, you should have taken minimum. For me, I think you should sweep the Royals. I do. The Tigers on the road, take 2 of 3. The Pirates on the road, take 3 of 4. And then get ready for the Brewers. It's a missed opportunity on Tuesday night. The Reds lose, the Marlins lose, the Brewers lose. Fortunately, when the Cubs lost, they lose no ground, but you missed a golden opportunity to pick up ground.
Always great hanging out with Kap. I mean, dude, you tell it like it is, and that's what I've always loved about you. We actually did play-by-play together before.
We did.
Dude, don't forget about that. One of the greatest spring training broadcast duos of all time for a game. But I enjoyed that too, man. I just in this business, people don't tell it like it is anymore. Everybody's worried about the repercussions of giving an honest opinion. But that's what makes you great, and I really appreciate you joining us here on our channel.
Let's talk. To be honest with you, man, I remember doing that game with you. And I think the Baseball Hall of Fame should be calling about the Frick Award pretty soon.
We killed it, man. I thought we killed it. I thought we were great.
It was
fun. You've done a ton of stuff too. I mean, it's not just baseball, but basketball and football and everything else. But what do you think about Cody Bellinger? I really liked it. You know me. I wanted the Cubs to make sure that they went out in the offseason and signed guys. I was afraid they were going to sign Carrero for like 13 years. I think Dansby's turned out to be exactly what I thought he would. He's actually a lot better because of his defense and his leadership. Bellinger, they got him on a 1-year contract, and he's turned into an MVP, at least an MVP candidate. Do you think that the Cubs are going to be able to sign him, or I mean, do you think they try to get Ohtani and maybe hold out on Bellinger and see what happens?
Okay, so we had this discussion on my radio show today. Here, I was always, you're the Cubs. It's Ohtani. I don't want to hear that you can't afford him. He could pick somewhere else, but you better not be outbid. And then I started making calls to former and current baseball executives that I've had a long-standing relationship with, none of whom work in Chicago. Let me just put it that way. It's not Jed Hoyer. It was not Theo Epstein, but some really accomplished guys. And I said, okay, your owner says to you, because the way the Cubs do business, let me just make sure people understand, like Rick Hahn has to go to, if he's going to sign you to a 1-year, $750,000 deal, he does it. But if he's going to sign you to a 10-year, $200 million deal, he's got to go to his owner and get permission. At the way the Cubs do business, and always have since Ricketts bought the team and Theo came in, he says, okay, Jed, here's whatever the number is. I'm pulling a number out of thin air. Here's your $300 million. You run all of baseball operations. That's your budget. They agree on a number. If he's got to pay Pete Crow-Armstrong his bonus, and he's got to pay this guy, and he's got to draft that guy, and he wants to sign Dansby Swanson, all of it comes out of that budget. So Jed has the autonomy to do whatever he wants. That said, when I look at paying one guy, we'll call it 10 years, $600 million. That's what Mike Trout said. He's going to get $600 million. I don't think Shohei Ohtani puts the Cubs over the top,
right,
and makes them their favorite to win a World Series. Could they win it? Sure, anyone can win it on any given year. But I think I'd be better off if I was the GM. I want to re-sign Cody Bellinger. Now, again, I'm not in the room with him every day, but I think they love him. Cody Bellinger, how much is that going to take? Can I get him for 6 times 35? I don't want to go 10 years. I do not. I just saw what happened to him for 3 years. He had poor performance and injury, but I am willing to reward him for his bounce-back season. And then I want to go get a third baseman, whether that is re-signing Jeimer Candelario. Matt Chapman's going to hit the market from the Blue Jays. Really good player. I want to address that spot because I don't have one. And then I got to go get more pitching. I've got to go out and get, whether that's Blake Snell or who is this year's version of a salary dump, like when the Cubs traded away Yu Darvish. Is there a guy like that on a team that says we got to move this money? Bring him on. And now I've addressed 3 different things for probably, I'm guessing, somewhere in the 450 to 500 million range. Not quite Ohtani money. I'm not getting that marketing juice from him, but now I've fixed 3 holes on my roster.
Interesting conversation because David Ross, the manager of the Chicago Cubs, the 3 guys on this show right now that are pro David Ross, and we have about, out of our, hopefully by the time people are watching this, 1,000 subscribers. That's a little plug. Subscribe, like, and comment. Once we get to 1,000, we're giving away that Ryan Sandberg autographed baseball. But I'd say at least half of these viewers watching this channel right now are out on David Ross. What are your overall thoughts on the job he's doing as skipper?
I actually think David's doing a really good job. You know, look, we all play armchair manager, and maybe I'll be sitting on my back deck watching on my TV tonight, and I'll go, "What are you doing?" And that's happened. And I know, because I've asked David this, that's what being a manager is. You're going to get second-guessed. We don't hear people second-guess Billy Donovan. Why are you running that screen down there? Because no one ever coached basketball or felt like they were an expert. Baseball, we all play Little League. We all watch a ton of games. Why is he bunting? Why isn't he bunting? Like last week, the Cubs have first and second with nobody out in the 9th, down a run. And he asks Madrigal to get a bunt down. He does. Second and third, they make the next 2 outs, ball game over, they lose. I was critical because not that Nick Madrigal's the be-all, end-all, but the guy on deck is a high strikeout guy, Christopher Morel. I'm asking him to hit a guy who's really hard to hit. He's got an overwhelming chance he's striking out. I need somebody that can handle the bat. I would rather have let Madrigal swing away. He's got decent wheels. Hopefully he doesn't hit into a double play. Put the guys in motion if you want. I wouldn't have bunted there. But that's what baseball is all about. And what I don't understand, like I saw a guy do an analytical breakdown of Ian Happ because Cubs Twitter is, get Ian Happ out of the lineup or put him at, the 8 hole. Go back and compare his BABIP number, batting average on balls in play, his weighted runs created. Like, take the real deep analytical look. His numbers are almost identical to a year ago when he happened to go to the All-Star game and win a Gold Glove. But the old fan goes, oh, he's hitting 242. I need a guy to hit 290, and his OBP is Stop. I like the job Rossy does. First of all, you watch how hard his guys play for him. Mm-hmm. Those guys have a great culture, a great vibe, and I think the fans sadly underestimate how important what goes on in that room is as opposed to what only goes on the field.
Hanging out with the Catman himself. And as you guys hang out with us, make sure that you like and subscribe and give us a thumbs up. All right, you're up there in Chicago. You're watching this thing every day, but I'm sure you've heard about this, the next phenom, the guy I call Hollywood Pete, that is ready to take Chicago by storm. What have you heard about the Cubs' top prospect, Pete Crow-Armstrong, and are the Cubs ready for this guy?
So they are ready, and I do think there's a chance he's here in September. I do. Because is he going to be the starting center fielder if the Cubs make the playoffs? Probably not. He would have to absolutely kill it in September. But if you're putting truly the best 26-man roster together and deciding, okay, playoffs are 25 or 26. I can't remember what the new rules are. But whatever it is, 25 or 26, you're putting the best group together. Oh, I need a guy that can run, and I need a guy that in the 8th and 9th inning, if I've got a 3-2 lead, can defend at an elite level. Now, Mike Tauchman's had a great year. Cubs are 25-12 when he leads off. 25-12.
Impressive.
Very impressive. But maybe I need to put him in right field for Seiya Suzuki. Maybe I want Pete Crow-Armstrong in center field. So I try to lock down a game with great defense. Maybe he can come up with a big hit, a pinch hit, whatever it is. I love Pete Crow-Armstrong. I got to know him. I've interviewed him a couple of times, one-on-one, sitting together. Really, really like this kid. I think he has a chance to be a really good player. Now, people are going to judge him. He's a little slight of build. He's not going to be a 42 homer, 128 knocked in, 370 hitter. He's going to be one of those guys, though, that's in your lineup for a decade. Mm-hmm. He's going to play gold glove caliber defense. He's going to hit high 200s, and he's going to hit 15, 18 home runs, come up with big plays in big spots, and he's going to be a great leader in your room because he's a wonderful guy. I think it's a absolutely stunning thing that the Mets did, that they took 2 months of Javi Baez and gave up on their number 1 draft pick a year into their system because he was injured. That was one of the great trades the Cubs have ever made.
Kap, appreciate you for hanging out with us today. You see it on the bottom, everyone. Follow Recap David Kaplan on YouTube. And when did you decide that YouTube was the future? I know you're still doing tons of work with ESPN 1000, but Mick and I, within the last couple of months, we looked at the trajectory of your page among many others and said, there's a market at Chicago Cubs, worldwide $1 billion market. Let's tap into it. When did you realize that being a YouTuber was something for all ages?
So that's a great question. Great question. So I was doing my what's called the recap, REKAP, a play on my name, and putting it on Twitter after Cubs and White Sox, and Bulls and Bears games, and getting stupid amounts of views. And a buddy of mine who's not in the sports world, he says to me, "Why are you giving it away on Twitter? Why don't you create a YouTube channel? You could do live programs, podcasts." And I thought, I don't really know much about it. I call a friend of mine who works in the TV business and not in sports. And I said, "Hey, can you help me with this?" He said, "I can have your page active in an hour." What? It was a Friday. I was driving to my lake house I have in Wisconsin. And he calls me an hour later. "Page is live. The Cubs are in the 7th inning, and I've had the game on." My wife was actually driving. I'm watching the game on my iPad. And I said, "Okay, I'll have a recap up here as soon as this game goes final." Pulled into the house, ran into my home studio, recorded the first YouTube recap, put it out there, and that was April 29, 2022. So here we are, May, June, July, August. So what are we, 16 months in? We just crossed 124,300 and whatever subscribers. And I hired an SEO team, a search engine optimization team. And they're telling me by the end of the football season, we'll be north of 200,000. And we're going to do this live Bears recap live show coming up starting the week of the opener in September before they play the Packers. Olin Kreutz, Tom Waddle are my analysts, me. It'll be live on StreamYard, and then it'll live on demand. And, I mean, the other day I did a Bears recap of a freaking preseason game, and we've crossed 15,000 views for a 3-minute recap of a preseason game. And I was literally on the water in Wisconsin floating on a thing and did it. It is so much fun. I love doing it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm the same way. Like, because you don't have to deal with all the executives and all the other BS that goes on. And let me ask you this, and this is, I guess, the last question of our segment with you and having you on, and it really has been great catching up. One of the other things we talked about Rossy, and fans are kind of up and down on that. What do you think about Marquee Sports Network? We kind of get that same vibe from Cubs fans, where they, it's not a grand slam like you would have thought to them.
Well, it's been tough for them to get what they call carriage. It took a while to get to Xfinity. They're not on YouTube. I don't believe that Dish is carrying any regional sports whatsoever. So a lot of people are not getting the games. And then, my son and I, Brett, we go to dinner every Wednesday night. Every Wednesday we go to dinner. I'll pick him up here in a little while. And we go into this same restaurant. We sit at the bar. The TV's right there. It's like an 85-inch TV. Hey, man, can you put the Cubs game on? Nope, we don't get Marquee. So they put NBC Sports Chicago on, and there's the White Sox game. And the guy is a Cubs fan. I like the people at Marquee. Mike McCarthy, the GM, I think does a good job. I really like Boog Shambi and Girardi and Deshays and Dempster and all good people. I met Cole Wright, who does the pre and post. Really good dude. Like all those guys. I think you run a dangerous game, a very dangerous game, when a generation of kids whose parents are cord cutters and are not getting cable can't find a way to watch your games, but they can watch the team in town, albeit they stink this year. If they're going to watch baseball, why wouldn't I want them watching my product? Because think of how many people watched Harry Carey throughout the 80s and 90s and went, like you and me. I would come home from school in the 70s. Jack Brickhouse is on. Milo Hamilton, Lou Boudreau, Vince Lloyd. Oh, man. Harry. People ran home in freaking Idaho to watch Harry Carey, and that made legions of Cubs fans. That's a dangerous game you're playing.
I was watching Sammy Sosa launching homers,
right,
in the left field in middle school in Cincinnati. Not even in Chicago. And
yeah, it's a dangerous game they're playing. And again, I think the people at Marquee, I think they get unfairly criticized. I think they put a good product out. I enjoy watching the games. I have cable. I'll be watching Marquee tonight. But it's a dangerous game you play when you turn off a generation of fans.